Okay, a very good afternoon, everyone. On behalf of the ASEAN Study Center, thank you for joining this live webinar broadcasting on YouTube and Facebook. We will begin shortly. But before that, I would like to announce that the ASEAN Study Center is holding a creative content competition that is open to the public with a prize of up to $150 of Apple gift cards. You can join in the competition through the link presented on the screen. Don't forget to follow our social media on Instagram at ASCUGM and Facebook at ASEAN Studies Center Universitas Gadjah Mada, and also like this video and subscribe to our YouTube channel. This webinar is a collaboration between the ASEAN Foundation and ASEAN Studies Center Universitas Gadjah Mada, so you can also click on the follow button on their Instagram page at ASEAN Foundation. So welcome all, and welcome back to our second webinar. Okay, welcome back to our second webinar of the ASEAN Youth 2020 series, presented by the ASEAN Study Center from the Faculty of Social and Political Science, Universitas Gadjah Mada. Today, we are honored to have Mr. Mahmoudi Yusbi, the head of program at the ASEAN Foundation. Good afternoon, sir. Thank you for joining us.
Good afternoon, and thank you very much for extending the invitations to the ASEAN Foundation.
Okay, sir. Okay, today, how would you like to be referred to as, sir? As Mr. Mahmoudi or Pak Mudi? Or,
Oh, yeah, you just call me Pak Mudi, or not. We are Indonesian, so yeah.
Today, Pak Mudi will enlighten us on the topic of community engagement in shaping the ASEAN identity. The topic is aligned to our event series that focuses on how much you can help shape a collective identity in realizing a more harmonious ASEAN. The ASEAN Foundation, as I'm sure all of you are somewhat aware of, and Pak Mudi will explain it better than I do later on. The ASEAN Foundation is an organization from and for the people of ASEAN that works on projects under the themes of arts and culture, community building, education, and media. My name is Muhammad Fahri Abdurrahman, or Fahri for short, and it is my personal privilege to be the moderator of today's event. I'm sure that our viewers can't wait to hear all about the ASEAN Foundation and its works, and most of our previous viewers, as I hope you all are ASEAN enthusiasts. This webinar is the fourth event of our ASEAN Day celebration series. If you have followed our Instagram at ASCUGM, on the 8th of August, we have extended our ASEAN Day greetings to you. And as I've mentioned before, we are also organizing a creative content competition. And we want your best ideas on the ASEAN identity. It could be in the format of a poster, a short video, or a short piece of writing. We are accepting submissions until the 24th of August, and you can go to our Instagram at ASCUGM for more information. Hopefully, this webinar could be a source of inspiration for your submissions. And before we begin, just a few housekeeping announcements for today. We will begin with a presentation and sharing by Pak Mudi. I will give some brief responses as a discussion before we open the floor to questions from our audience. And we look forward to receiving your questions on our YouTube and Facebook comment section. And finally, we'll hear a concluding remark from Pak Mudi. Before I pass the time to you, sir, let me just introduce you briefly to our audience members. Pak Mahmoudi is the head of program of the ASEAN Foundation, who supports the executive director in designing, managing, implementing resource mobilization, and overseeing the programs of the foundation in 10 ASEAN member states. Prior to working with the ASEAN Foundation, he served as a project officer and technical specialist for the United Nations Development Program to manage the South-South and Triangular Cooperation, Access to Justice, Democracy, and Sustainable Development Goals programs across Indonesia. He also spent 7 years working as a program staff with Leonard Cheshire in the national office in Indonesia, as well as the regional office in Bangkok, Thailand, to manage and implement the Disability and Development Program in Indonesia and Southeast Asian countries. Mr. Mahmoudi holds a Master of Arts degree in International Development Studies from Chulalongkorn University, Bangkok, Thailand. And without further ado, the floor is yours, Pak.
Yeah, thank you very much, Fakri, for quite a comprehensive, introductions of myself, and also we would like to extend our grateful actually to the ASEAN Study Centers for inviting the ASEAN Foundations to actually to speak about ASEAN identity and the program and the work that we do around the regions, the ASEAN regions. Before I start my presentations, and I would like to greet everyone with a happy ASEAN Day. this year is the 53 years of the ASEAN. We are more than half a century already. And if you know ASEAN, so we were founded. The ASEAN itself were founded in 1967, and it was, I think, 53 years. It's a long way to go, and ASEAN, when we really pretty much look forward actually to do more to the ASEAN community, in particular to the ASEAN community building processes. Well, my name is Mahmoudi Yusbi. So you can call me Moody. I am the head of program of the ASEAN Foundations. Today, I would like to talk a little bit about how the ASEAN Foundations actually instills the ASEAN identity to the ASEAN youth. So I'm quite excited actually for those youths that joins the webinar today. So whenever you are, if you are somewhere in Indonesia, if you are across ASEAN, so I'm so happy that you joined this webinar, and I hope that I can shed you some lights about the programs that we do and how you actually can participate and feel that you are the ASEAN citizens in the future through participating in the work that we do across the regions. Okay, can we go next? Yeah. So ASEAN actually is a home, for ASEAN citizens. So this is, before I go further about the program that we do, so I would like to touch upon a little bit about what is ASEAN. So, ASEAN it's a big region, it's with more than 600 million people. So if I recall the last statistic, we have around 650 million people, and the youth, it's quite huge in ASEAN. So 60% of the population of ASEAN is a youth. So there are around 213 million. So that's quite a big resource to tap into. So youth are really potentials in the region. Can we go next? Yeah, a little bit about ASEAN member states. The ASEAN who joined when. So if you see my screen, so although we were founded more than half century ago, so the ASEAN actually started by 5 Southeast Asian nations. So if you can recall from my presentation, if you can see from my presentation, so Indonesia, Malaysia, Philippines, and Singapore and Thailand, those are among the ASEAN member states that start ASEAN, through our founding fathers. And then I think the ASEAN also was established during the Cold War, and this organization, these associations actually aims to promote stability in the region, and over time, we expanded and to include its 10 member states. As you can see that if you're from Brunei, so you can see that this, your country joined ASEAN in 1984, and then Cambodia, so 1999, and the rest, and so on and so forth. So these are the 10 ASEAN countries, so where ASEAN Foundations also operate and work in the regions. Can we go next? Yeah. So a little bit of a key milestone of ASEAN, and ASEAN, they promote collaborations among the member states. But during the journey, so ASEAN also has their key milestone that they have achieved, from the establishment of the ASEAN itself. So I don't know if maybe some of you learn about ASEAN during your schools, during your primary school, for instance. You learn about Bangkok declarations in 1967, and afterwards, there was an ASEAN Visions 2020 in 1997. That was during the ASEAN Chairmanships of Malaysia, when Malaysia, hold a summit. That's where ASEAN, formulate their vision in 1997, and then 2003, and then Indonesia hosts, the ASEAN Bali Concord Concord 2 for the ASEAN community. So this is where ASEAN formulate their pillar, to like ASEAN has these three pillars for security, and then economic communities, and also ASEAN social cultural community. And in 2007, ASEAN even go further with their commitments to be an ASEAN community by 2015. And in 2009, there's a roadmap on ASEAN community for 2015. A little bit insight to you about the key milestone in ASEAN. And in 1997, I'll talk a little bit about the ASEAN Foundation's establishments, during this year as well. Can we go next? Yeah, a little bit about the ASEAN Foundations. ASEAN Foundations, we were born in 1997. So if you see my presentations, on the key milestone of ASEAN, when the leaders, formulate the visions of ASEAN, they also, giving birth. They also gave birth to the ASEAN Foundations. It was during the ASEAN Summit in 1997. Those foreign ministers from across 10 ASEAN countries, it's not really 10 countries. So since other countries haven't joined ASEAN yet, like Cambodia, for instance, they joined ASEAN in 1999. So those leaders formed the ASEAN Foundations with aims that we can actually contribute to promote ASEAN awareness, identity, interactions, and development for the people of ASEAN. So that we have these visions, to build a cohesive and prosperous of ASEAN community. So that's why the ASEAN Foundation was born, and we are put under ASEAN charters, and then our work is to spread ASEAN awareness, and also to instill the ASEAN identity to actually ASEAN citizens. So mostly we work with youth. Since I've mentioned a little bit in my in the beginning that the youth are the pretty big resource in ASEAN, so around 213 million. That's why we're trying to focus most of our programs to benefit the youth. And ASEAN Foundation is also a platform, of opportunities for the youth, and the reasons why we are targeting the youth from age 15 to 35 years old. So because if you are aware of the ASEAN's Youth Development Index, so that's where ASEAN Foundations actually define the youth. Next. A little bit of the visions of the ASEAN Foundation. So as I've mentioned before, we aim to promote ASEAN awareness. Now we'd like to build a caring, cohesive, and equitable, peaceful ASEAN community. And can we go next? Yeah, so this is how we actually translate our mandates into programs that ASEAN Foundations, will make some benefits to the ASEAN citizen. So we actually define our program into 4 program thematic areas. So we have our project under art and cultures, and then we have educations, we have community buildings, and we also have media. Those projects we actually formulate so that we are able to engage with a lot of youth, but not really youth, but also ASEAN citizens. We work with local society organizations, we work with universities, we work with the local government as well across the 10 ASEAN countries. Can we go next? So the first projects that we have currently is the Connect ASEAN. It's a project where we are trying to appreciate the arts of ASEAN. This is how actually ASEAN Foundations instill the ASEANs to the people of ASEAN through the art and cultures. So people will appreciate the art from across the ASEAN members, 10 ASEAN member states. But for these projects, we work with Republic of Korea. So we are trying to leverage on Korean art as well, so that the ASEAN artists and Korea, they can work together to appreciate their art among others. So we're trying to empower artists as well. So local artists that are in the ASEAN region, and we do a lot of exhibitions. We do some online webinars. We also do some awareness raising as well on arts. So we work with the different partners across the regions. Okay, can we go next? And then, so if you're youth and if you have a passion actually to do a volunteers, so we have the RAD program where you also can participate. It's called the Empowering Youth Across ASEAN Programs. So a program that aims to create an impact actually across the region through mobilizations of youth. And every year we recruit around 100 youths. So this year, even we go further, we try to recruit around 110 youths from across 10 ASEAN countries. And then we group them into 10 to 11 people, and we train them on how to do a community project. So the youth comes from, they are not really students, but some of them are students, but many of them, they are also professional youths. I mean, they come from different backgrounds. So some of them, they are currently working. So youth entrepreneurs. So they also come together as well and leverage on their experience, joining our programs through an open call. So we select them and then they come to our program. We even enhance their capacities, to do a community project implementation. So we have a pilot project in the Philippines, for instance, for this year, and in Cambodia, in Malaysia and Indonesia. So we went to the rural areas. So we are not only doing our community projects in the urban setting. So for instance, if you're from Indonesia, we do our projects. Last year we did our project in Flores. We did, the pictures also show one of our project in Flores. We work with our local CSOs, Taman Baca Pelangi, for instance, where the youth were able to do a community projects there. And then and we also did our project in Toraja, and then in Cambodia, we even went to Kampot province. We went to to Battambang province, for instance, and in Malaysia we went to Sarawak. So this year we expanded these programs, and it will be an interesting program to meet friends from different countries. Oh, this way you will instill your ASEAN identities as well. Can we go next? Yeah. So we also care about the youth that actually need to enhance their digital literacy skills. So in front of us, it's the industry 4.0. So you like it or not, so you're gonna face this era where technology will play a significant role actually in your life, in your work as well. So with the pandemic that we are currently encountering and we are facing, so digital skills is not a luxury anymore. It's a necessity for everyone. That's why we run this program with our corporate partners. With SAP, for instance, SAP. They're a German software company. So we work with their office in Singapore. So we run this program called ASEAN Data Science Explorers, a program that targets tertiary students to develop the data-driven proposals. So the students will be equipped with data analytics skills, and then they're gonna learn the software, and afterward we sensitize them with the social issues as well through the Sustainable Development Goals. So the youth, apart from they got a training on data analytics, but at the same time they understand the social issues as well, and they try to use the software to analyze the problem through the Sustainable Development Goals. So for instance, if you choose the goals of educations, then you're gonna find a problems on education. For instance, in a few countries in ASEAN. So for instance, you are trying to identify the out of school children in a few countries, and using the software you try to analyze. We train you on how to do that, and then afterwards you come up with the solutions. What is actually the problems and what is the solutions, and then you're gonna present the solutions to different ASEAN policymakers. Usually we run these national competitions, and afterwards we also run a regional finals. So those who win at the national finals will go to the regional finals to represent your country and then to present your storyboard, your data analytics in front of the ASEAN policymakers. Yeah, next. So, and then we have also another programs. We work with Microsoft. It's more towards to equip the youth with with the digital skill, but we are focusing on the youth in the rural areas. The undeserved youth, for instance, the youth, people with disabilities, those youths who have difficulties in accessing the internet, for instance. But we also are catering this program into the youth that are able to access the internet as well. So the youth will be trained on the basic coding, for instance, on the blogging, on the data science. But at the same time, we will teach them on the soft skills as well, on the team building, for instance. This is gonna be needed for them when they find an employment in the future. So we teach them on digital skills. So at the same time, we also to train them on the soft skills as well. So more are completed. And we also build a platform through these programs. So it called Future Ready ASEAN. So if you got a chance, so please visit the website. It called Future Ready ASEAN. You also can benefit from this. You can go through that course, and there will be a certifications. And we make this program available in the local languages as well. So we understand that not all ASEAN youth were able to speak English. Those youth that stays in the rural areas, for instance, so you cannot expect them to speak English, although ASEAN official language is English. So at the ASEAN Secretariat, for instance, we use this English language. So last year we were able to reach out around 25,000 youth actually across the regions, and we work with many local organizations. Can we go next? And this is one of our flagship programs. So if you know Model United Nations, so you're pretty much familiar with these programs. So these programs actually to help the youth actually to understand how ASEAN policymakers are making their decision. So how the ASEAN leaders when they meet with the other leaders to do a meeting. So we are trying to make this familiar, to ASEAN youth as well. So it called the ASEAN Foundation's Model ASEAN meeting. So the youth will be trained actually on how to simulate the ASEAN high-level meeting. But at the same time, we provide you with a training as well, leaderships, negotiations, and ASEAN affairs and mechanisms as well. So we started these projects in 2015, and during the Malaysia chairmanship of ASEAN as well. And this year we are going to organize this 6th AFMAM in Hanoi, but due to pandemic, we will be organizing it through online as well. So if you watch our social media, you also can observe this event from next month. Can we go next? And this is a project that really target the scientists. So we work across sectors. So we see that scientists will need to contribute more actually to the ASEAN community building processes through the evidence-based policies, through the evidence-based research. So we recruit scientists from the 10 ASEAN countries, and we work with them. They are doctorate degree and some associate professors as well. So and then we host them in the local governments in the 10 ASEAN countries. So currently we work with the 9 ASEAN countries through Committee Science and Technology. They are senior officials that oversee the science and technology affairs in ASEAN. And then those scientists work with the local governments. They do a research, and the research that the evidence-based research will be used by the local governments to actually for their policies and their programs. So far we have recruited around 66 fellows from 9 ASEAN countries to actually work with local governments to do the evidence-based research on the different topics. There was energies, renewable energies, and then there was environments, science and technologies, and entrepreneurs as well, and many others as well. Yeah, can we go next? We have also a scholarship program. So we have quite a lot of projects that we are currently running. So currently can we go next? Just to show numbers. Yes, next. Yeah. So currently we used to run a different ASEAN scholarship projects. Currently we are discussing with the ASEAN Secretariat as well on the possibility of doing this single branded scholarships. But currently we narrowed down our scholarship program into a Chulabong Graduate Institute's ASEAN Foundation scholarship. So for those who have the interest actually to study, about biodiversity, science, and technologies, and also things that relevant to biodiversity and science, you can apply this scholarship. We are still open these scholarships. It's for 10 ASEAN member states. So it's a full scholarship. You're gonna be fully funded to study in Thailand. It's called in Chulabong Graduate Institute, and yeah, it's a fully scholarship. And in the future, we hope that we run more programs like scholarship program for undeserved people. Yeah, can we go next? And our media also, we are looking into the skills to develop the skills of youth on the video, and then another one is on social journalism. So we run a project with our partners, and for those the youths, I mean, this is the way where we try to raise an awareness of ASEAN, through videos. The youth that has been trained through these programs, they can use the skills actually to be a journalist, to be a amateur or professionals video makers. We train them on how to do a good videos through different topics. So if you visit our YouTube, you will see the different videos from the youth that attended this video contest. There were topic about transparency. There was topic about what does ASEAN means to youth, and then many other topics as well. So can we go next? And this is another project. So we have it's called ASEAN Youth Social Journalism. So this project for those who has the interest actually on writing an essay in English. So you can contribute through the different topics. So we usually will do a call for applications. The youth will be selected in pair, so they will be trained on how to hone their actually writing skills, and afterwards, going back to your country, so you need to do a campaigns actually, and usually for video contests and social journalism, there will be a prize. The first winner usually will receive around $1,000, and then second winners like around $700, and the third winner will receive around $500. And those money usually will strongly suggest for the youth to actually continue what they have been campaigning at their local community about the issues they care. And okay, we go next. And this is an interesting program for those youth that have the interest to interns at the ASEAN Foundations. So we open for the internships. This is actually an opportunity for you to learn more about ASEAN through an official ASEAN bodies. When you intern with us, so you will learn different issues on ASEAN, not only theory. We don't really do studies at the ASEAN Foundations, but we actually transfers the mandates of the ASEAN Foundation's visions through implementations of the different projects. So you will see in reality how the ASEAN Foundations actually contribute to the community building of ASEAN, and also instilling the ASEAN identity to the people of ASEAN. So we receive interns from the 10 ASEAN member states. So we had interns from other countries as well, from the dialogue partners. For instance, from Germans, Korea, and then we have from Australia. We have many from Australia, and then we also have interns from mainly from the ASEAN member states, from Singapore, Malaysia, Indonesia, because we are based in Jakarta, and yeah. And next, I will show you a video where our interns, 3 of our interns, talk about ASEAN. What does it mean ASEAN to them? What is the ASEAN identity to them? This will provide you an overview of what is actually ASEAN identity. So maybe we can play a video for the audience. Yeah.
Bright future.
Opportunity.
When I hear about ASEAN, I think about diversity, and I think about community.
Harmony and delicacy.
To me, ASEAN is a place full of opportunities and also a community where the members help each other.
To me, ASEAN is a space that promises a lot of growth and opportunity where we can help each other to progress together towards better opportunities, be it growth economically, education, in the political spheres and the social, cultural spheres as well.
To me, ASEAN is a community where each member strives for a shared prosperity, peace, and most importantly, equal opportunity to grow.
When they go anywhere in the world, I want they to have a sense of belonging, so they proud to say, I'm ASEAN.
I hope that the passion and commitment to strengthen the ASEAN community will continue to be passed on to the next generation.
Coming years, I wish our harmony keeps maintained, more connectivity happens, and people-to-people relationship is being deepened.
We are ASEAN.
We are ASEAN.
We are ASEAN!
We are ASEAN.
Yeah, thank you very much for showing that video. So you saw that there were four people were there. So three of the actors and actresses were the ASEAN Foundation's interns. So Regina from Singapore, and then Evelyn from Indonesia, and Rahim from Malaysia. So those interns that worked with us in last year and in 2018 as well. So we were managed to do a video with the ASEAN Secretariat when we celebrate the 51st of ASEAN Day, and we didn't manage to do a video this year, but we managed to actually contribute to the ASEAN video anthems actually that played this year. Some of our interns also contributed to that video as well. And yeah, so I also would like to show you the ASEAN Foundation social media. So if you're interested, to learn more about the work that we do in the region, and you really look forward to participating in our programs, so I would like to encourage you to also look out to our social media account, like the Instagrams and then Facebook, and then if you're on LinkedIn as a professionals, you also can follow us on LinkedIn. And for the Thai youth, we are also online. So because I know that the youth in Thailand, they communicate through online, and yeah, so you will learn a lot about the project we do, and then how you also can participate. I think there will be it from me, so I will take questions from you. So if you have questions, and I'm happy to actually respond to your questions about the topic I speak today. Yeah, I think I'll give it back to Fakria.
Thank you very much, Pak Budi. That was a very profound and insightful presentation, Pak. Just a quick note on several things that I see interesting points that I gathered from your sharing session is that there are approximately 625 million people, in which 213 million are youth. And they're not only the source of what we will have in the future, but are the ones involved directly today, especially in the programs of ASEAN Foundation. The youth are very much involved in them. And I could see also that the works of ASEAN Foundation is focused on upscaling the holistic skills of people, of youth, of scientists, of leaders and everything, data science, contextualizing social issues, and having an urban but also rural awareness of ASEAN, of the member states of ASEAN, not just the people in Jakarta, in the secretariat, but also the people who are in the most outreached areas of ASEAN. So I think those are very much interesting points. So, and we are today in the year of the ASEAN identity. So the ASEAN youth, especially our audience today, could benefit, I think, much from your sharing. Again, just a reminder that the audience can drop their questions at the comment section, and the questions will be presented later on, sir, so you can see it too. So before we continue with questions from the audience, I would like to kickstart our discussion with several questions, if I may, sir. Just a bit about, I think it was mentioned about the post-COVID responses from ASEAN Foundation. So how has the global pandemic affected the work of ASEAN Foundation? So I've taken the liberty to look into several things like AFMAM, the ADSE, ASEAN Leaders Program, and maybe other programs that have had to adjust, going online, for instance. Would you think that it would change the impact of the program? And how do you overcome like the changes and how it would impact the impact of the programs?
Yeah, thank you very much, Fakri. Yeah, indeed. I mean, the global pandemic that hit at the global levels. Not only ASEAN, but now comes to ASEAN, and it really affect the work. I mean, the way we actually implement a program. So people never cross their mind that actually, it's very difficult for you to travel, right? So for ASEAN Foundations, the nature of our program actually involving the 10 ASEAN youth, we are bringing them together so that into specific countries, for instance, to Thailand, so to Vietnam, so that they can gather and meet and exchange and actively participate in our programs. So now it's quite a bizarre period for us, and we think really hard on how actually we can cater, to the current situation. And it's really it affects to the way we do things at the ASEAN Foundations. As I told you that the ASEAN Foundation since March, since the COVID-19 hit Indonesia and ASEAN, so we start to work from home as well, and then we start to try to deliberate, in our foundations, and we actually converted our work into virtual, and that's possible. And since we actually used to do some virtual activities in the past, and we thought that the youth in ASEAN also will be able to live in the new normal. So I mean that's why currently we do a lot of our programs. We actually try to convert it into online. For instance, our ASEAN Digital Innovation Programs with Microsoft, we actually converted this program fully into online. We run training of trainers, data science training actually through the online platforms, through Microsoft Teams, for instance. We were able to reach out the 10 ASEAN students. So I think that's quite a success. And even we reach more youth, across the regions, but we try to cater the youth with their needs as well. For instance, we don't use English a lot, and when we do a training in Laos, we do their local language. When we do a training in Myanmar, we also do a local language in Myanmar. So it's different programs, so different approach. So, and then for our ASEAN Data Center Explorers, we also, actually applied the same approach as well. We converted the project into an online platform as well. So, but we are also monitoring the situations. For instance, our Empowering You Across ASEAN programs, that there's an element of volunteerism there. So where youth will be to do their community project implementations. And there are some parts we can do online. For instance, capacity building, and then doing discussions with the youth from the 10 ASEAN countries, do their work plan, do a training. But when it comes to deployment of the youth to the community projects, then we have to do it on the ground. And that's where we are monitoring the situations. And for instance, we are trying to do this to deploy the youth next year with, our partner is Maybank, is a Maybank Foundation. So we discuss very actively with them, and we monitor the situations. If it's, COVID-19 gets better in the future, into 2021, then we were able to make our participants to travel again to the country that they are going to be deployed to do their project or participate in our event. But in 2020, so we have to really pay attention to the safety of the participants. So and I think it is very difficult at the moment to bring people, to fly people together actually to meet. But now we use our online platform to actually bring the participants or the youth together and exchange, and we have to make as live as possible so that they have these values when they participate in our projects. Yeah.
All right. Thank you very much, sir. That was, if I could wrap it up, the answer to that is virtual work with what we have. So we have to move everything online virtually, and of course it relies a lot on volunteerism and how the youth can still engage as much as possible through this limited processes. I think we have a lot of questions coming up, sir. I think the audience are very much excited and hearing from you. So I see several things. I think we can start with this one that relates to the previous question. This question is from Rainier Gallego. It says that, are there programs or projects that are related to promotion of health in the ASEAN region, specifically in ASEAN Foundation, probably, sir?
All right. Okay. I'll answer very quickly. So ASEAN Foundations, I mean, we have projects. I mean, in the past we did some health project as well, but currently we don't have any specific project that caters the health issues. But we are about to kick off our COVID-19 response projects, actually. Yeah. So we work with our partners in Korea. So they are based in the US as well. So they call the United Way Worldwide. So we have, I mean, we currently I'm finalizing the work plans where we are going to do a work in the few countries in ASEAN, like in Malaysia, Myanmar, and Thailand. But we are also looking into the ASEAN regions in terms of this COVID-19 response. So there are many elements in these programs. You know, there will be educations on how on the COVID-19. There will be a campaign, but there will be a food security program as well. So we're gonna work with our local partners in a few countries in ASEAN to distribute actually the food and hygiene package. So this is a health element as well, right? So that people will be able to access this hygiene non-food items as well. People who are affected by the COVID-19. But I mean, for a long-term project on health, at the moment, we do not have this particular projects and with the ASEAN Foundations, but we have bit and pieces here and there. Like for instance, the Model ASEAN meeting that we are going to undertake this year. So there was a topic actually on health as well. So we don't really do a specific project on health. So yeah, so that's what I can answer.
Right. That's brilliant. Okay, I think we're gonna move on to our second question. This is quite related to our topic today. This is from Mr. Tunggul Wicaksono. It says, in a broader sense, how do we develop our sense of belonging as ASEAN citizens? This is, in my opinion, a crucial element since we have no common ground based on national entities and cultural similarities. So yeah, I think it's a concern about having no unified sense of culture or national entities.
Yeah. Yeah, interesting questions, and yeah, so it's very strategic questions as well. So yeah, to build a sense of belonging to ASEAN, it's actually it's a difficult task of any ASEAN institutions, you know, and we always see ASEAN as a political entities, right? Many people think about that. But since 2015, you know, since ASEAN, you know, announced its ASEAN community, so ASEAN grow together as a community. So to build a sense of belonging of ASEAN, as the ASEAN citizens, we have a shared identity, right? So for instance, like people in Malaysia, in Indonesia, so we have this Melayu identities that we have together, you know, and then people from Thailand and Laos, they have shared identities as well. And that's where it's grow this sense of belonging of ASEAN. And the second is ASEAN has an open skies policy, you know, and if you notice that if you travel actually to those countries in ASEAN, so there's no visa policy, you know, for the ASEAN citizens, except, you know, I understand that still Myanmar and Malaysia still has this a little bit of hiccups on their visa policies, but mostly in ASEAN, when you travel, you will see that there's an ASEAN land, you know, in the respective countries in ASEAN. So you freely can come, you know, to any ASEAN and ASEAN countries. So that's where actually it built, you know, the sense belonging of ASEAN as well. So I mean, Asia is also one of the ASEAN entities. that also fly to the 10 ASEAN member states. So I don't mean to promote here, but ASEAN, I see that's how it is. But also indirectly, I mean, since I work with the ASEAN Foundations, I mean, through the participations of the different programs in ASEAN, so you will also build your sense belonging to the ASEAN as well, and through meeting different friends from different countries, and also the work that the government do at the moment at the ASEAN level, they are trying to build this work plan together, that can bring as many as ASEAN citizens to take part in the different programs, so that they can also build the sense of belonging as an ASEAN citizen. And interestingly, last year we did a survey, with the ASEAN Secretariat, and when we did a survey, and when we asked how many people actually identify themselves as the ASEAN citizens across the regions, so surprisingly, that 94% of the people say that they identify themselves as the ASEAN citizens. But there's a sort of questions, right? But we dig deeper, so perhaps not many people, actually, people in the street, for instance, it's very difficult actually to talk with them, to make them understand about what ASEAN, and even to build a sense of belonging to ASEAN, and for ASEAN itself. So we have a lot of, I think, homework that we need to do. I think in the coming years, maybe another 50 years, to have ASEAN become 100 years. Even we are stronger by then. Yeah. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, sir. I think we're going to go into the third question here. I think it's quite holistic as well, the question, because it talks about the opportunities of the ASEAN youth. It's from Fadila Ristianti. She asks, how does the ASEAN Foundation ensures the equal opportunities for ASEAN youth in the region? Is there any particular approach for the particular regions, such as CLMV countries, to engage them on ASEAN more?
So we actually, I mean, ASEAN, our motto is the equal opportunities, right, for all the citizens of ASEAN. So, if you participate in ASEAN Foundation's programs, we always treat equally to 10 ASEAN member states. Even for ASEAN leaders, if you notice that there's a contributions, right, from the ASEAN member states to the ASEAN Secretariat, for instance, and those contributions equally as well. Not like other organizations, others, intergovernmental organizations like the EU, for instance. So where big countries will also play some important role, and some small countries also will play some less role. But in ASEAN, the 10 member states will have the equal opportunities in terms of participations, and that's what we are trying to instill in our programs, the Model ASEAN Meeting. So ASEAN, whenever we run our program, so we always bring in the 10, ASEAN citizens, ASEAN youth. We don't leave them behind. So I mean, we don't also specify the CLMV countries, and even though there's no CLMV anymore, CLM, Vietnam is going further at the moment. So maybe it's around, they are leaving those Cambodia, Laos and Myanmar. So, and for the ASEAN Foundation, even for our internship program, so we take interns from the 10 ASEAN countries. So we have interns from I think the last year we had interns from Cambodia as well, and I mean, we are currently designing a new internship programs where we are going to target the quality youth, actually the youth who have qualified to interns with us. Those are from those countries like Myanmar, Cambodia, Laos. So we try to provide this scholarship for them to do an internship with us, and hopefully in the future. So that's what we are currently designing. But rest assured, the program, whenever we do a program, we always involve the 10 ASEAN member states. Otherwise, it will not be called ASEAN. So ASEAN is always about 10 ASEAN member states. So if you run a program that doesn't really involve the 10 countries, so that program will not be called ASEAN. Yeah. And one more thing, so I'll just want to add, the ASEAN Foundation's Board of Trustees is the ambassadors from the 10 ASEAN countries. So that's one of they are actually the governing bodies of ASEAN Foundation. So that's why we have to run our project in the 10 ASEAN member states. Otherwise, our board of trustees also questions the ASEAN Foundation's mandate. Yeah, thank you.
All right, thank you for the answer, sir. I think that's pretty holistic answer. I think this is quite related to the previous question. I think this is a pretty simple question, and I'm sure that the website of ASEAN Foundation has covered it, but I think you could maybe promote it even more, sir. How can the youth register as volunteers for ASEAN Foundation's program, especially internships and other programs? Are there any coming up openings, for example?
Yeah, so currently I think our internship program, we open throughout the years. So that's I mean, but of course it's you need to wait, if the seat has been filled up, so you need to wait until the next cohort will come. Usually will take around, I think, 8 to 7, I think even up to 10 interns. Usually, like, because at ASEAN Foundations we have a different unit. So I oversee the unit of the program. So the whole program of the ASEAN Foundations, I usually take interns, 5 to 7 people, a year. And I mean, interns usually who interning at the ASEAN Foundations, they spend around 12 weeks, 9 to 12 weeks. So some of them even going further into 6 months. So when you do internship for 6 months, so you will learn the whole cycles of the project. So you're gonna learn more about how ASEAN Foundations functions and how actually we interact with our youth across the regions, and how ASEAN Foundations also interact with our, with the ASEAN policymakers as well at the regional levels. So you're gonna learn different magnitudes of the program of the ASEAN Foundations, and that's one. And the second, you can participate through our Empowering Youth Across ASEAN programs. This year we have closed the call for applications. Unfortunately, we have selected the youth that are going to participate in our program, and currently we are working with our partners to actually finalize the agenda and try to talk with our participants as well. But of course, every year we open call for applications for those youths that wants to participate in the ASEAN Foundations programs. So we have a lot of programs, so it can be volunteers programs, and it can be different form of programs. So you can participate in our scholarship programs, if you want to learn data analytics, we always can participate in our ASEAN Data and Explorers. If you want to be a volunteer, so you can participate in our, our volunteerism program coming up. We'll have more projects in the futures. Currently, we are doing this. We are designing a new project for employment project as well in ASEAN for the youth, and social entrepreneurships as well. So soon this year we are going to launch this program. And yeah, there are many exciting opportunities for the youth if you keep following our social media, for instance. Or if you visit our website, so you will learn more information about the program that I've just explains to you. Yeah.
All right. Thank you very much, sir. I think this next question, I think we're going to entertain. We still have time for 3 more, I think. This is a pretty important question, I think, when it comes to involvement of the youth, especially in places where it might not be seem like enough, especially in ASEAN. Alifa Salsabila asks on how do you see the youth's role in shaping ASEAN identity on high politics issues, as we believe today's youth are becoming more critical and vocal in highlighting injustices across the region. It's a matter of justices, law and order, and being vocal and critical to, for example, the government or just social issues as a whole.
Yeah, so that's an important question, and it's in ASEAN, there are different organizations that play different roles. So ASEAN Foundations here, we are actually the right hands of the ASEANs to actually deliver this pillar called ASEAN socio-cultural pillar. But we also play some roles in ASEAN political security pillar as well, since we have an engagement with many organizations across the 10 ASEAN countries. We run from 2017 all the way to 2018. We run the different ASEAN community forums where we brought in those different organizations, interfaith organizations, they're faith-based organizations, and those marginalized organizations and the youth organizations to bring together into a platform where they can engage with the senior officials from ASEAN and they can voice out their concerns. But that is not the main mandates of the ASEAN Foundation, but we care about the youth participations. And what we mean by youth participations, that their participations at the community levels so that they can contribute to the ASEAN community building processes, so that they can benefit the local community. But in ASEAN itself, ASEAN started to cater the concerns of the youth. If you really follow the ASEAN Summit this year or last year, so there was a participation of youths, in the ASEAN summits, there was an interface between youths in ASEAN and with the leaders. So the youth were trying actually to express their voice, their concerns to the ASEAN leaders. I think that there is a progress in ASEAN, So our leaders now wants to hear to the youth, because the youth are really like a potential, a resource in the regions. Even I believe this year is also the first year for the ASEAN youth to come up with the youth statements in ASEAN. So I think that there's another progress. I believe this is like really like take shape of the youth participations, and ASEAN Foundation will keep playing an active role in this as well. So we're trying to equip the youth with the necessary skills so that they are able actually to take part in the bigger stage. For instance, through our Model ASEAN meeting, where we are trying to invite the VIP peoples as well during the summits of this Model ASEAN meeting, so that the youth also can be able to interface with the ASEAN leaders in the country where we organize our Model ASEAN meeting. For instance, if you know, the ASEAN always rotates this chairmanship, right? So this year is Vietnam. So, and this year we even think of bringing the ministers actually to interface with the youth to actually, talk about their concerns or talk about the outcome document that they discuss in their meetings actually. So I believe that there's a good progress, and ASEAN is on course, actually on track to actually, look into the youth to play more roles in ASEAN. So and then if you want to learn more about these participations of youth, you always can. You can discuss with us, and we also can facilitate your communications with the relevant divisions at the ASEAN Secretariat, who oversee the youth education and sport as well. And there are many platforms that you can talk from now.
Okay, thank you very much, sir. There's a lot of really interesting questions, but I'm afraid due to time constraints, we can only entertain 2 more. I think this one is very important and pretty wholesome, because Zach Long asks, I'm sorry if I mispronounced it, what kind of skills should an ASEAN citizen have to be able to contribute in strengthening our whole ASEAN economic growth? Probably the question relates to the ASEAN economic community, that how we as youth need to upscale our skills, probably in the programs that you have mentioned before. So your time, sir.
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, so this is really related to the current situations. In these pandemic situations, the skills that you need to develop. There are a few things that you need to focus actually. And before people will not think about the digital skills, right? So and for now, I think the digital skills is, as I mentioned earlier, it's not a necessity anymore. It's not a luxury anymore, but it's a necessity. So you have to have these skills in order for you to be able to blend in actually into into a community or into an employment world. So I think equipping yourself with digital skills, I think will allow you to go anywhere. I think that's for sure. And you have to be adaptive as well. So be adaptive and flexible to the situations. And I think that's another motivations that probably I can give you some insights. And if you're interested to learn more about these skills, you always can contact ASEAN Foundations. And we have, for instance, currently we have a program we call ASEAN Digital Innovation Program. So we have a platform we call Future Ready ASEAN. So you can visit their website, so you can take your certifications actually through the different courses that fit with your interests. So whether the data science, with team buildings, and then another digital skills that will be required for your future interests. I believe, I think, I would say that currently, because in the future we are going to interface with the 4.0 industrial revolutions, right? So like it or not, so you have to prepare yourself. So I mean, in the future, I think these skills will be a basic skills for every people need to have in order for them to be able to compete in ASEAN, even in our own country. Like if you are in Indonesian and you are so you need to compete this with other Indonesian. If you are in Thailand, so with the Thai. So if you are going to regions, to the regional levels, then you're going to compete with the ASEAN communities, people.
Thank you, sir. I think, yeah, that sort of captures how events and programs are plenty. There are lots of opportunities, lots of organizations holding them, ASEAN Foundation, the ASC, of course. I think it really depends on how proactive the youth are on looking for these opportunities also, right, sir? Okay, I think we're gonna wrap up with one last question, which is, I think is very important, very onward looking. It's from Nadila Trisi. She's asking, with the context of this year's grand theme of ASEAN identity, what would you think is the best way to celebrate ASEAN Day? And what should we look forward to in the next 5 ASEAN Days, as in look forward to the future and in the next 5 years, probably? Yeah,
so this is actually a difficult question for me as well, although I work at the ASEAN Foundations. I would always encourage people to travel, but sometimes, this year it's difficult for you to travel. And, by traveling, so you will be able to see, the different cultures and different things in ASEAN. And how would you celebrate the ASEAN? I think, by participating, the different, programs that are available out there. In ASEAN, for instance, ASEAN Secretariat, so they also have many programs that you also can participate. Participating in these programs or participating in the webinars, I think, in the online program that runs by different organizations will be maybe sensitize you with the think and feel ASEAN. So I think that's what I can encourage you at the moment. And if you're trying to make friends, I think I would suggest you make friends with the people across the regions. And another thing is, if you would like to to interns with us, currently we have interns from the different countries from ASEAN. We have interns from Singapore, for instance, and Thailand, and I think from Australia as well, and from other ASEAN countries. So that's also another thing that you can do, to intern with us, learn ASEAN in different way, but at the same time making friends. And I think that's it. It's kind of difficult at the moment to actually suggest people, because if you like travel, I think travel is the best. It's the best platform for you to actually see. But if not, so I think try to be active as possible, so to see different opportunities the ASEAN organizations like ASEAN Foundations, ASEAN Secretariat, ASEAN Youth Organizations. What else do we have there? There are a lot of organizations that will allow you to actually feel, think, be the ASEAN in the future. Yeah.
All right. Right. Thank you, sir. Despite the limitations we have to travel today, hopefully in the future we can travel within ASEAN again. So yeah, before we conclude, I think I'm gonna reiterate some underlying messages that we've received from you, sir. So I think we can say that youth today can prepare for taking charge in the future by gaining this necessary skills, as you have said. And then the youth today can also create impact today by joining into a lot of volunteerism, a lot of programs. And the ASEAN Foundation is one of the channels, among others, that can help the youth gain those skills and create those impacts also. So before we conclude, would you like to wrap up our conversation today, sir? Any key messages you would like to reiterate?
Yeah, for me, I think ASEAN is not all about associations. ASEAN is a community. It's a community of opportunities. So if you use that very well, I think you will be able actually to benefit from this community. So it's not only the association itself. So it's a community where we can grow together to benefit out of it. So ASEAN Foundations play our role here. So we have bits and pieces in the ASEAN community. So I would like to encourage you as well to visit, the social media and website of the ASEAN Foundations, ask questions, and I would like to see many of you who take part in this webinar today to actually participate in our program in the future, and hopefully, like, keep our finger crossed, we can travel again in 2021, and I hope that we see some of you to travel with the ASEAN Foundations actually in our programs in the future to explore, ASEAN, regions. So I wish you all the best. Yeah.
Thank you so much, sir. Again, what an honor it is for me to be your moderator, and of course for the audience as well. So let this be a small step forward in realizing the vision for an ASEAN identity for everyone. So this concludes today's webinar. Thank you again for listening. If you would like to collect your e-certificate, attached here, we're going to show the link and the QR code right now. The link will be valid for 24 hours only. So if you would like to claim them, please do so soon. Just a quick reminder that this event is part of an event series to commemorate ASEAN Day. And we also have a content competition with a prize of up to $150 to 3 winners that you can join on the link below. So we will also be rolling out more webinars in the coming weeks and months. We hope to see you at our future event soon. Stay healthy, and thank you. Thank you again, sir, and have a great day, everyone.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good day. Stay safe. Yeah, bye.
Okay.